Ian from RTO here. Welcome to another tier ranking. These are always done spur at the moment. The reason that I can do these spur at the moment, they're so easy to do. And today we're having a look at Saxon, one of my favourite bands, and someone has actually asked for Saxon. So I thought, let's do Saxon, easy peasy 1, 2. So I had a quick listen to them all again. And when I mean a listener, I just flick through the tracks. And my ranking hasn't changed since I've done that, which was in 2021. So they haven't changed much. Obviously, we've had a couple of more albums thrown in since I did the ranking. So that's a good excuse to do this one as well. So we'll start at the beginning, back in 1979, when they'd released Saxon. Stallions of the Night, Stallions of the Highway even, and Backs to the Wall. There are a couple of tracks on there, everyone's first debut, they're still trying to find their feet. So I'm going to put it as a mixed bag. I do like it, don't get me wrong, but I think the sound got better on the next album, which came out in 1980, and it's the brilliant Wheels of Steel. Wheels of Steel, Motorcycle Man, 747, Strangers in the Night. Absolute classic songs from Saxon, firm favourites. This is certainly top drawer Saxon. This is when they were outselling Iron Maiden, and pretty damn good album. So that was the first one they released in 1980 in April, but in November they gave us another absolute classic. Strong Arm of the Law, Hungry Years, Heavy Metal Thunder, Dallas 1 PM. Classics again. Certainly top drawer Saxon. The creme de la creme. 1981, my favourite Saxon album of all time, Denim and Leather. Never Surrender, great track. And the band's played on. And Denim and Leathercore, one of the first rock anthems from them. Top drawer, my favourite album, so it is going in there. Has to, doesn't it? Okay, next up we have The Power and the Glory. Now the sound was starting to change a little bit. Even Saxon got sucked into the 80s production. The cover is probably one of the worst covers I ever did. Okay, it's got The Eagle Has Landed In, which is absolutely superb. Now one or two other tracks are okay, but there's some on there are a little bit, yes, they're a little bit dated. I do enjoy the album, but I think it's one that I don't reach for that often, and if I want to listen to The Eagle Has Landed, I will put The Eagle Has Landed, the live version. So I'm going to put it as a solid, it's a solid album. It's not the best, but it's pretty solid. Next up, 1984, we have Crusader, which was a better album than Power and the Glory. It's got Crusader on it and Just Let Me Rock, which is an absolute gem. It's certainly not excellent, but it's solid. It's a solid album. Again, they were sort of going down that 80s production on this, and they sort of, this is where they started to sort of waver in popularity, but this is a pretty solid album. Okay, next up, 1985's Innocence Is No Excuse. Oh dear me. Has got some. The only tracks I like on there really good are Back on the Streets and Rock and Roll Gypsy. The others are pretty mediocre. Nothing special. Don't like the cover either. So I think that's definitely a mixed bag. Up next, 1986's Rock the Nations. Again, it's certainly not one of the best albums, although it has got Battle Cry on it and We Came to Rock. The others again are a little bit mediocre. They're not very memorable. But is it more memorable than Innocence? No, not really. So it's a mixed bag album for me. And then we come to the blip in Saxon's career, Destiny. I don't like this album at all. I never have. So it's not. It's got some highlights and there's some great Paul Quinn on it, but it's the sound. I know these tracks though sound better live, but it's just the production. So I'm going to put it down as an okay album. Okay, next up, Solid Ball of Rock, 1991. They've dropped the 80s sort of sound, starting getting back to a little bit of metal. Solid Ball of Rock's gone good, but the best track on here is Requiem. We will remember. It really sends shivers down your spine, that track does. Pretty solid album for me. Back on form. So we'll pop him in at first of the solids. Next up, 1992's Forever Free. Iron Wheels is on this, and Forever Free. It's alright, I keep having to look at the album rankings because whenever I've listened to it, it's a lot of information to take in. It's a mixed bag one, definitely. I think it's got one or two that I'm never been keen on, but on the whole, it's a really good listen. So let's get the right one in. I think it can come in here. It's a mixed bag, second in the mixed bag line. Okay, up next, a great album from 1995, Dogs of War. The sound's coming back to that 80s, early 80s heavy metal. I love this album. It's got Dogs of War on it again, of course, and The Great White Buffalo, one of the great epic Biff songs. This is an excellent album. I love this album, and it is definitely going into excellent. Okay, up next, Unleash the Beast from 1997. Bloodletter and Unleash the Beast, two of the highlights of this album. It's a gritty metal album. Now, where do I put Unleash the Beast? It's a solid album, certainly very solid. I think it can come in just there. Now, put it at the bottom of the solids. Now, change my mind. There we go. Good place to put Unleash the Beast. Up next, the last album of the 20th century for Saxon, and it is Metalhead. Really good album to end the century on. We've got Metalhead and the Consequator. Pretty good tracks. Very solid album for me from Saxon. Starting to gather memento again, and I think it deserves to go in the solids. Up next, the first album from the 21st century. And it is Killing Ground. Health freezes over. Rock and rock life. Underlove. I think I'll just write that down. And it has got the Court of Kings and King on it. Crim. Inventing words as I'm going along. Killing Ground. Yeah, it is certainly in the ooh. Yeah, I think it deserves to come in here. In the solid album just there. Okay, next up, 2004, we get Lionheart, which Find a General. I love that track, and the English Man of War. Excellent album this is. This is the certainly we're getting to come back to proper form, and I love Witchfinder General. I think that's a brilliant track. So it is going into excellent next to Dogs of War. Up next we have the Inner Sanctum, Need for Speed, and the brilliant Attila the Hun. Solid album. So there we go, another solid album. Plenty of solid albums from this band. Then in 2009 we have Into the Labyrinth. It's got the Battalions of Steel on it. Valley of the Kings, absolute dynamite track. I do like this album, so I'm going to put it in excellent. I do love Valley of the Kings. That is an absolute killer album track. Okay, next up, 2011's Call to Arms, back in '79, and the title track, Call to Arms. Superb stuff. Definitely a favourite of mine. I shall put it in an excellent album. Up next, 2013, Sacrifice, Made in Belfast and Guardians of the Tomb. Good tracks. A really solid album. So yes, it's going in the solid albums. Next up, 2015's Battering Ram. Wow, what a album. Totally blew us away. This is a big comeback. This is just an amazing album. One of the best metal albums of 2015 in my mind. If I was doing the channel then, this would have probably been number one. So it's an excellent album, and it's the top of the excellent albums. Now I thought that was a great album, and I thought, could they top it off? And they did. 2018, Thunderbolt. Oh, with Thunderbolt on it and Sons of Odin, absolute dynamite tracks again. Just blew me away again. Best album of 2018 in heavy metal. So it goes in excellent. Then that thing called COVID come along, didn't it? So in 2021 they just put an album together of their sort of favourite songs that inspire them and called it Inspirations. They do a great version of the Immigrant Song and Problem Child on this. It's a covers album. It's an okay album. I don't mind it. So it's certainly going to go in there. So that is an okay album. And then 2022, last year, Outcome. their best album in so many years. Topped my album of the review here of the year. I love this album to death. I play it so much. It's definitely top 10. If I was to re-rank these properly, it'd be in the top 10. And this is why I do this. So for Carpe, a DM, it's top drawer. Absolutely top drawer. Saxon. So it goes in there. And that's how I think that my top 10 would be. As in the excellence and top drawer. Then this year, a few months ago, they brought out another of those inspirations called More Inspirations. Again, it's got a great version of Faith Healer on it and Razamanaz. It's not as good as the first one, but it's certainly better than Destiny. So we'll put it in there. So there we go. Top drawer, Denim and Leather, Wheels of Steel, Strong Arm of the Law and Saxon. Excellent, Thunderbolt, Battering Ram, Saxon's Calls to Arms, Lionheart, Into the Labyrinth, Call of Arms, The Solid One, Solid Ball of Rock, Crusader, The Inner Sanctum, Sacrifice, Metalhead, Unleash the Beast, Killing Ground, and Power and the Glory. The Mixed Bags, Saxon Forever Free, Rock the Nations, Innocence is No Excuse, and the OKs, More Inspirations, and bringing up the rear is Destiny. So there we go, always a lot of fun. Changed it a bit, you know, even in the short time since I ranked them, my listening has changed. Always does. So look out for another tier ranking in a few weeks' time. Not quite sure who it will be. But that's all. I'm now going to go and sit and watch the ladies' rugby this afternoon. And then I'll be back on Monday where we kick off with the Allman Brothers Band, which was a request. And the classic album this week is Robert Plant's debut, Pictures at 11. Enjoy your weekend, folks, and I will see you all Monday. Bye for now.